Hi everyone, it's Tamara here from Mythbusters. I hear that you're learning about STEAM today. So a little while ago, Miss Tackett asked you if you had any questions to ask me, and she sent them here, so I'm going to answer them. While I'm going through this, if you have any other questions, write them down and give them to her, and she can email them to me, and I'll send you some more answers. So let's get started. Mia asked me what my dream job was as a kid. So when I was little, I had a really vivid imagination. And I also saw a lot of movies. There's one movie that's called Home Alone. You guys may have seen it. You might be a little bit too young. But in it, there's one scene where he escapes a police officer by sliding on his knees across an ice rink. So that made me, for a very long time, think that I was going to be an ice skating police officer. I probably kept that dream for a good part of my early life. But obviously, I veered a little bit away from there. Brayden wanted to know when I started working with dogs. I've been working with dogs since I was really little. I had dogs growing up. I also had cats, but I had cute little puppies. And then from an actual work standpoint, I've always had a shop dog. So whenever I'm working in the shop, I have my dog Dexter with me, and then sometimes on Mythbusters, you'll even see Myth dog Bo running around. And that's Brian Loudon's dog, but we all love her and adopted her as our own for the show. Cameron and Kylie asked, did you like science as a kid, and when did I first start liking science? The thing about science is that it's really just having a natural curiosity. So I was definitely a curious kid. I was always trying to figure out how things worked, how to take them apart, how to rebuild them, and this started when I was very young, to the point that my mom still reminds me that when I was less than 5, I was taking apart her appliances, and I had no idea how to put them back together. She also didn't know, so she would have to wait until my dad came home from work to fix things. So curiosity really is just the starting point for science, so I've always loved science. Kylie also wanted to know who inspired me to like science. It's funny, I actually just think that because I was curious, that led me to really loving science, and then I really liked to watch Star Trek with my dad, so I saw a lot of sci-fi, and that kept me thinking about technology and kind of engineering stuff. And my mom actually worked in a lab, and so I got to play with a lot of microscopes and slides. So all in all, throughout life, I had lots of different people, both on TV and off TV, my parents, their friends, all kind of showing me different types of science that there could be. And then of course I had my teachers too, who were really fun. They would do lots of cool demonstrations that I liked. Which also leads to Kylie's question of what my first ever science experiment was. And for me, that was building a volcano using baking powder and vinegar. So I'm sure you guys have done that, and if you haven't, you should check it out. It's really fun to build a paper mache volcano, and you put baking powder in it, and then you can actually pour the vinegar and see an eruption. You can add some red food coloring, and it looks like lava. But make sure to do that with your parents. Don't just do that on your own, because it's going to be really messy, and you don't want to have to clean that up by yourself. She also asked what my favorite ever science experiment was. And it's actually one that I've not only done as a kid for fun, but I've even got to do it on TV. And that's making elephant toothpaste. So if you've ever seen elephant toothpaste, it just rapidly turns into this giant pile of foam. So it's kind of like if an elephant actually had a tube of toothpaste and then it stepped on it and it shot out to the side. That's what it would look like. Or you can see here where we did it on Scijinks once.
Whoa! Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Sean's gonna kill me.
Did you do that?
That was the last one.
I ain't no scientist, but I ain't that stupid neither. Look like a root beer float.
So now you know why I love science, but obviously I actually ended up becoming an engineer, which engineers use science as well, but I don't do it to the degree of going into a lab and doing research and publishing papers on it. Instead, I'm working more with technology. So you all sent me a lot of great questions about why I went into engineering. So Evan and Maya actually asked specifically, why did I want to be an engineer? And I kind of laughed because I didn't actually know for a very long time that engineers could be girls. So when I started in college, I actually just wanted to be a history major so that I could go into the military like my parents. It wasn't until I was a sophomore in college that I had a math and science teacher sit me down and talk to me about engineering and talk to me about how I should go into it. And so I started doing some research to find out more about it and figure out whether or not it was something I would be into. So Brenna asked how long I wanted to be an engineer, and so it was a very short time for me. I literally changed majors in the middle of my college career when I realized that I was really good at math and science and that I could build cool technology like I used to see on Star Trek. Which leads to Evan's question of who my favorite engineer is. My favorite fictional engineer was actually Montgomery Scott, who was known as Scotty on Star Trek. He was one of the people that I used to watch all the time as a kid with my dad and just fell in love with what he did as an engineer. But because he's a boy, I also then thought that I couldn't do that as a girl. I didn't know any living engineers in my life. My parents weren't engineers, their friends weren't engineers, and I only saw Scotty on television. So for a long time, even until I was in college, I thought it was a career field for only men. So I just want you all to know, girls can be engineers too, we can be anything we want to be. Which actually leads me to my favorite engineer, and that's Hedy Lamarr. Hedy Lamarr was an actress turned inventor. She actually developed a system that was a radio guidance system for Allied torpedoes that helped defeat the threat of jamming by the Axis powers during the war. Now that may not seem like something you all can connect to, but it's actually a technology that was stemmed off of to form Bluetooth technology and Wi-Fi. So based on the invention that she made so long ago, we now have technologies that we use every single day. So, see, there's a girl, she's an engineer, she's also an actress. So I like her the most out of all of the engineers that existed. How cool is being an engineer, Braden asks. It's really cool. The one thing I love about engineering is I can really do anything. I can work in any field, I can do any kind of development. I've worked in biodiesel, where I used to take vegetable waste from cafeterias, you know, like where they fry your fries. I would take that oil and I would turn it into gasoline for our buses and for the tractors on the farm at my college. From there, I went into developing technologies that are used in all of the clear bottles and dishes that you use. So if you think about your food storage where you put your leftovers, all of that has really cool technologies in it that make it so it's clear so you can see through it. And I got to work with those technologies for a number of years. After that, I actually went into product development where I got to design toys, I got to design parts for cars, I got to work with things for rockets. It's one of those fields that no matter what you want to do, the sky is no longer the limit. Because again, you build a rocket and you can go to the outer space, right? So just think of it that way. If you really don't know what you want to do, but you love math and science, engineering might be a good field for you to go into. Claire and Samantha wanted to know what college I went to. Well, I'm an NC State Wolfpack engineer. Claire also wanted to know what major I got. I got a chemical and biomolecular engineering degree. NC State is actually specifically known for having very well-ranked degrees in that program, and all of us were able to get jobs, even though I graduated when no one was hiring, which you guys hopefully won't have to worry about. How long did I go to college, Brenna asks. Well, like I said, I started out a history major, and about halfway through college changed directions. So that added another year to my college days. So I was in college for 5 years. I went both spring, fall, and summer. So just so you know, when you go to college, it is kind of year-round, but if you look at it as an investment in your future, it's not so bad. Plus, when you're getting to do science or engineering, the summer is really cool because you basically spend most of it in labs doing crazy demos that are really fun. So Ruby wants to know, as an engineer, is my job more fun or more stressful? I would say that my job is always fun, but at a very fast pace. So sometimes it can feel like it's stressful, but really it's just more exciting than anything else. It is a lot of hard work, but it's always worth it. And then Kylie wanted to know what a day looks like for me. Because of what I do now, my days vary a lot. Sometimes I'll be on set and I'll be building things for Mythbusters, and then I will be doing experiments with them. Or other days I'll be doing consulting where I'll be working with companies to help design toys or cars or things of that nature. And then there's days where I literally get to talk to really cool comic book writers about the science that they're using for their characters. And that actually has led to me launching my own comic book that's based on STEM, and it's going to be an outreach program for kids. So once I get that done, maybe I'll have to send Miss Tackett some so that you guys can read the comics too. How would I describe my week? Is it calm or crazy? Emma wants to know. Some weeks are very calm. Some weeks are so calm that I just spend every day cuddling with my puppy and wondering when is it going to get crazy again, because I need to work a little bit. But some weeks are kind of crazy, but again, it's always fun when you're an engineer or scientist because you're doing lots of really neat experiments. And Connor asks what makes my job so fun. It's the discovery. I literally never had to grow up. I get to stay curious and I get to stay inspired by everything around me, and I can develop whatever kind of stuff I want. And I get to make really cool toys or do really fun science demos with kids all over the nation. So it doesn't get more fun than that. And then Will wants to know who I wanted to have win the Super Bowl. Well, I live in California, so I'm sure you expect me to say the Rams, but the truth of the matter is that I know the Patriots normally win. So I went with the one that has the better statistics, and I said, okay, the Patriots are going to win. But if you asked me who I would want in the Super Bowl instead, I would have said the Carolina Panthers because I love them. They're my team. So now that we've talked about my early life and my engineering career, let's talk about the cool stuff. Mythbusters, right? So Jonathan wanted to know how hard it was to get my job and how many TV shows I've been in. Well, the truth is that Mythbusters is a job that came much later in my TV career. I was doing acting for over 10 years while I was an engineer. And that led me to having a really good resume and reel and having a little bit more of an advantage when I applied for Mythbusters. There were over 10,000 applicants and they only picked 10 of us. And it took them over a year and a half to figure that out because everyone had such cool skills, they weren't really sure how to dwindle it all the way down to enough for just one show. So it was a really neat thing that I got picked and that I got to go and compete with everyone. So it was a little bit hard to get in there, but because I had been an engineer first and because I had been doing acting on the side, it really helped me a lot. And that kind of leads to the TV shows question. So I've been on Mythbusters The Search, which was the competition show. Mythbusters 2.0, which was the relaunch with John Long and Brian Loudon and Myth Dog Bo. So Alan Pan and I got to come and play with them quite a few times on the season. And then most recently I've been doing Mythbusters Jr, which is really cool. If you guys haven't seen it, you should check it out. We have 6 kids ages 12 through 16 from all across the nation, and they're taking on full-size myths. They do an incredible job and they inspired me every day. I learned so much from them on set. I also did a really cool show called Scijinks where we used science to blow people's minds and kind of teach them about new things that they didn't know existed. So I've done 4 total full series, and then I've been in a lot of other kind of web series and short films and indie movies and stuff. So lots of other things on the side, but those are probably the 4 that you would recognize the most because they're on Discovery and Science Channel. Now, Preston, Evan, and Marley all want to know who my favorite Mythbuster is. I would love to hear who you guys all think is your favorite Mythbuster, so maybe Miss Tackett can do a poll and see which of the old school Mythbusters you guys like the most. For me, I really enjoyed watching Carrie on TV because Carrie was there, she was a scientist on TV, she was doing everything just like the guys were, and there was never a question of whether or not it was because she was a girl or because she was really smart why she was there. She was just really great at being someone that was strong at everything she did, and she was willing to take on any challenge. She wasn't scared of anything. And so as an engineering student, because I had been watching her for so long, she actually gave me the hope that one day I could do science on TV, and she's the reason I started acting classes. Now, what is my favorite Mythbusters episode, Preston asks. For me, as a diver, I loved all of the Shark Week specials. I see sharks a lot when I dive, and I used to be really terrified of going in the water because of the movie Jaws. But then Mythbusters took on a bunch of the things that happened in that movie, as well as just the different myths that you see on television and movies, and showed that really we shouldn't be as afraid as they make it out to be, because most sharks, they're just swimming around and they want to eat fish. They're not really after us. And then Kaden wants to know if I like Adam and if he's my friend or if he's weird. So Adam is an amazing human being. He was not just my co-host on the show, but he was also my boss, and he's probably one of the best bosses I've ever worked for, because every day he was inspiring me, and I got to basically be an apprentice under him while the Mythbusters Junior's apprentice under me and John Marcoux. So it was really exciting to get the opportunity to work from him and learn from him and kind of see how he thinks and how he develops his ideas. So he's not weird, he's very fun. Though we're all a little quirky, to be fair. I mean, I'm definitely quirky, so some people call that weird. I think we all have a little bit of weird in us, and the quicker we own it and we enjoy it and we embrace it, the quicker we're gonna realize who we really are and find our own voices. So if you guys feel like you're weird, don't worry. That's what makes you you and makes you unique. So hold on to that weirdness. How did I become a person on Mythbusters? Kaden and Braden asked. Well, like I said, we had a huge opportunity with Mythbusters Search to compete and be part of the franchise. And we all realize the importance of maintaining the fact that science is fun and something to celebrate, and not something that's only done in a classroom or a lab, but something that's done everywhere. And so I applied, I was accepted as one of the 10, and then I was the only female finalist and 2 MVP winners. So because of my performance on the show and in the contest, that led to further jobs with Mythbusters relaunching as 2.0 and then Mythbusters Jr. Alicia, what is the favorite episode of Mythbusters that I was in, and which one did I enjoy the most? The favorite episode for me, oh, this is hard. I actually kind of want to do it by show. So my favorite Mythbusters The Search episode was when I had to take a vacuum and turn it into a machine that would allow me to scale a 7-story building. So because I really like bugs and insects and reptiles, I actually copied the pattern of a gecko, how they kind of have this little suction cups on their feet and they can go up really fast. So I used the science behind how a gecko's foot works and how he climbs to build my own rig to be able to then climb a building. I was the only one that got out of the building, and as someone that loves biomimicry, which is where you study animals to be able to create technology, it was a really good example that I love to share with people. In Mythbusters Jr., I would say that my favorite myth was when we took on the Homeric myth of Odysseus being able to shoot through 12 axe heads at a 30-foot pacing. And so we actually were able to design and build a rig in that was able to get through all of the axes in a single shot. And we thought that there was no way that was going to happen. We had like 20 arrows lined up, and we're like, guys, we're going to be here all day. They're all going to break. It's going to go everywhere. And then it just went right through. And it was one of the most beautiful shots, and you can see it here.
Are you ready? Yep.
So, okay, so for our overall main myth.
Okay, everyone smile for Aaron.
That brings us to Mythbusters Jr., and Claire wants to know, did I have to take a test to get on it? Well, the truth is, I had to take a lot of tests in school to be able to become an engineer. And then when I was an engineer, I had to do a lot of projects where I would get rated, but that's more of a job rating than a test. But being a good engineer led me to being able to be on Mythbusters The Search, which also had a really long application and a lot of 1 to 10 ranking of skills, but that's kind of more like a survey than a test. So I think I did a lot of tests early in life so that I didn't have to do one to get on Mythbusters Jr. Kaden, Kylie, and Marley want to know who my favorite kid was on Mythbusters Jr. And the truth is, they were all so awesome, I can't pick a favorite. But I can't tell you who I knew the longest. So Allie and Elijah were both kids that are on YouTube and who are really incredible science and technology studiers. And I had been in talks with them for a really long time as a mentor. So when I got to meet them for the first time, it was actually on set as a surprise. And that was a lot of fun. Then Will wants to know if I ever get annoyed by the other Mythbusters. Well, let's be honest. When you work in a team, Everyone at some point or another is going to cause a little bit of annoyance. I've probably annoyed people just as much as they've ever annoyed me. But the fun thing about science and engineering is you kind of have to annoy each other. You have to ask questions, and you have to have doubts about what other people are saying. Because we do a thing that's called peer review. And that means that if you say, when I studied X, I found Y, they have to go, well, but did you study Z or did you study A? And they kind of fact check you. And by doing that, you're able to make sure that a scientist or an engineer thinks about every potential outcome. And so we do that all the time on Mythbusters too. We go, oh, well, this is what they say happened. But did they think of this or this or this? And then we test all of those variables to see if there's another potential answer. So we do annoy each other sometimes, but it's all in good fun, and it's so that people can learn as much as they possibly can from the show. Ooh, Jack and Ethan want to know if I've ever blown anything up and how much C4 I used. I've blown a lot of things up. But there's only one time that I got to actually use C4, and that was during Mythbusters The Search. We built what we called the Dandelion of Doom, and we had to put a pound of C4 in it to see if we could paint a room with it. So a pound of C4 is something that when they first said it, I had no idea what that would look like. You know, I know what a pound of like chicken looks like when I'm making a meal, but I don't know what a pound of C4 looks like. A pound of C4 is about the size of a baseball. And what's really cool is that when you get close up, it's very sparkly. So if any of you have seen Twilight, it kind of looks like Edward does when the sun comes out, which I thought was very funny. But a pound of C4, it's just baseball size, and then a half pound is what they call hot dog size. So some of the teams used a half pound, and they didn't blow up their room as badly as we did. So next time, we might go for a hot dog instead of a baseball. Ooh, Jack would also like to know why we murder Buster and how many Busters we've murdered. Well, when you donate your body to science, it's not considered murder. And because Buster is an inanimate object, though we do always give him googly eyes when we can, he doesn't have sentience, so we don't consider it murder. Instead, we see him dedicating his life for the cause and helping us do lots of experiments. I think that there's been a lot of Busters that have died in the last few years while I've been part of Mythbusters. But like I said, every time we learn something, and he's always a champ. He always wants to go again for the next experiment, and we can just keep having him involved. So he's definitely a very important member of our team. I definitely wouldn't want to get exploded, so that's why we have Buster, because he's way braver. Marley wants to know, what would I do if I wasn't working with Mythbusters Jr.? So for me, teaching science and engineering to kids is really important. And I spend most of my year talking to schools like yours about science and about engineering and trying to get them as excited as I am about it every day. And so I think if I wasn't on Mythbusters Jr., I would be doing exactly what I do when I'm in my off time already. I would keep going across the nation and being in classrooms with kids remotely like this and telling them all the cool stuff that they want to know about science. And Samantha asks if I have plans for any upcoming TV shows. Well, you know, we have to kind of wait around to see what's going to happen with Mythbusters Jr. So right now, that's kind of where I'm waiting as far as TV is related, but I am going to be launching a YouTube soon. And when I do that, I'm hoping to have lots of kids on to teach them really fun science demos, and I'm even going to do a lot of superhero science, which is what I do across the nation because superheroes have some really cool powers. So that's it from my early life, engineering life, and Mythbusters, but Ian sent some great questions because he wants to have some actual science fun. His first question is, why is the triangle the strongest shape in nature? Well, any structure that's requiring a strong and rigid construction depends on triangles. And the reason for this is that the triangle is the only two-dimensional polygon that is constructed of rigid members with a hinged corner, but it's not going to move. So if you think of a square, that's not here, this is a good square. Each of these is a corner that's hinged, right? If someone pushes from this side on this square, it's going to go this way or it's going to go that way and become a trapezoid. But if you take a triangle, if you push from the side, it can't go anywhere. If you push down, it can't go anywhere. So the hinges on it allow it to be rigid and strong But because of its shape, all the force directions are going to go in a way that it holds strong. The strongest triangle is definitely the equilateral triangle because you're going to have equal force in all angles when you're pushing down. Triangles can go further though in 3D phase and actually be pyramids, or if you look at a lot of bridges, you'll even see triangles in them. Start paying attention to the strongest structures around you, and I bet you'll find triangles all throughout. Even the giant golf ball at the Epcot Center is made of tiny triangles over and over and over again. So just look for them. I'm sure you'll find them everywhere in nature. His second question is kind of cool. It's actually, what is the physics of gravity? So there's actually 4 fundamental forces that govern the universe, right? We have electromagnetism, strong nuclear forces, and gravity. Gravity is the weakest, but it's the one that we know the most about. So if you think about it, gravity really defines how we interact with our entire world. It determines how strong our muscles have to be in order to move us around. It determines how tall we can get. It determines so many different factors. It's also why Superman is so strong when he's here, because on Krypton, the gravity is a lot stronger. So he had to get really bulky to be able to move around there. And so when he comes here, he's just like jumping around, kind of like we were when we went to the moon. Now, all bodies on Earth have a weight, and your weight is determined by that actual pull of gravity and your mass. So big, massive objects are going to have more actual force and pull behind them than small objects. So think about it. If you're walking by someone, you guys both have forces acting on you, but your gravitational force isn't going to pull each other together because you're small. But the Earth is huge, so you're constantly pulled down to stay on the ground because you're a small person and it's a big planet. You can think of this too when you think of how the moon is going to be going around the Earth, and it's going to be affected both by the pull of the sun and the Earth, but it stays in its orbital form. But as the moon goes around, because it's bigger than, say, an ocean is with regards to its total mass, the tides are actually caused. So as the moon goes, the ocean kind of does its high and low tides based on it, and because it's rotating, that's how the entire world gets all of their tides. So it's kind of a really cool physics when you think of gravity, but a really better way to show it is actually to show you a drop test that we designed for Mythbusters Jr. when we were doing our space episode. So it said that if you drop a hammer and a feather on the moon, because there's no air resistance, they should actually hit the ground at the same time. Now, obviously, if we dropped those on Earth, because the hammer has more mass, it's going to go really fast to the ground, and the feather is going to have air resistance that's going to kind of keep it aloft, and it's going to float, right? So what do you think is going to happen if you drop both at the same time in a vacuum chamber, where, basically like the moon, there's no air resistance? Well, check it out for yourself.
It's going very slowly.
Gosh, Cannon, why is it going so slow? Can you send that to my phone? Thank you, guys. Well, Thor's hammer was made by a feather.
The feather was worthy.
So I just want to give a special thanks to Ms. Tackett for letting me come and talk to you guys today remotely on your STEAM day. I hope that you have a great day playing with lots of different science and engineering, arts, mathematics, technology. STEAM is really a field that the sky is the limit. You can do anything you want to do, and you can stay curious and have a lot of imagination with it. So I really hope that you guys enjoy it as much as I do. And again, if you have any more questions, feel free to turn them into her, and then you can send them my way, Miss Tackett, and I'll send you some more answers. Thanks, and have a good day.